from an Alaska high school where classes have already started and she got special permission to take off next period to give her paper, so we have to, and I need about 5 minutes to set up the Skype call. But
so you because I can, I will be glad
I think we can have
to speak.
one last question.
So I didn't have so much of a question as a comment. So I don't think, so none of these jokes are roll on the floor laughing jokes. They're really laughter through cheers jokes. Yeah. And the thing that's always amazed me about Russian humor, and a lot of it is subversive obviously, is that how little context the native Russians need. I mean, the context is the life, basically. And this would be the same in political humor in any language, but a lot of Russian humor is political, or at least contemporary based, whether it's about Putin or about Stalin or whatever. But it occurs to me, the one joke that would really translate well, because students, I think, could really relate to it, would be the one about, you know, don't thank God, thank Stalin. Well, you know, how many cult figures are there in North American, you know, culture even, you know, sort of wannabe whatever, don't thank whomever. Well, what if, you know, thank, I don't know, I can't think of anybody, thank Obama, but, you know, I'm just, not, you know, okay, so, but when Obama dies, what happens? Well, then thank God. People can relate to that because it's subversive. This, whoever that is that's being put on a pedestal will come crashing down, inevitably, in any culture. So, just the terseness of the jokes has always amazed me. And I think that's the part of it that is so difficult, because even if people, it's almost an intuitive feeling you have to get from the joke. The one about the elevator in the night, or the knock on the door at the night. How many times have I heard that from older people in the Soviet Union? But you really have to understand that that knock at the door was just...
Yeah, this has to be explained.
Weird. It doesn't take very much explanation.
Right.
But I mean, these are not kill yourself laughing jokes, but you laugh at them because it's like a release almost, isn't it? Almost a release, almost a relief.
I think that for the Russians it was exactly that.
Yeah,
it was a release mechanism.
Yeah,
yes, I think that is the point.
Absolutely. It's always so interesting how the jokes in Russian are so terse, and yet they say a world.
But wasn't this very dangerous, telling jokes about Stalin?
Yeah, well, that's this 15 years prior.
Yes, right.
Yeah, of course, that's another, that explains. Of course it was very dangerous.
Telling jokes about Putin.
Yeah. You can tell jokes about Putin.
Oh.
But these jokes were mostly in the early 1930s. But of course, in this presentation that we had at Villanova, there was another speaker on religious jokes, and he's from Moscow, and he just told the story that his uncle was in prison for telling a joke. So there are all sorts of indications, but I don't know whether there is so much research, and I'm interested, but also never did the research. Well, not how many people, we will probably never find out, but a little bit more about people who were sentenced for jokes. Again, there are all sorts of anecdotal accounts usually. I don't know whether there is any history behind it. Do you know?
It comes up in memoirs sometimes.
Right. But as from historical point of view, with,
no, it's
always with archives and
no. It's
as
always
far
a-
as I know, I
It's
don't.
always conspiracy to commit whatever murder of some kind of Soviet official. It has to be political organization. So a joke in itself. Actually, there's a bit of a debate on this too, about the dual function of political joke in the Soviet system as a safety valve, which would be good for the authorities. And that's
Yeah.
why the NKVD could possibly start some jokes going around. And the subversive function of a joke at the same time. How to deal with that, of course. And the role of humor and satire in the Soviet system in general as well, especially at the start. We know that Stalin knew about jokes being told about him and enjoyed them in a secret way, especially the famous joke about his pipe. So there's actually, in memoirs, there's evidence that he knew about the joke, about his pipe getting lost and then people getting arrested and confessing to stealing his pipe and then subsequently finding his pipe behind the couch or whatever. So he knew the joke about himself.
This is later.
It's
This
based
is
on the
after the
film.
war, huh?
It's based on the film.
Yeah. So all the films most of the films were after the during the war and after the war. This joke seems like 1940s,
Possibly.
Late 1940s. Plus the pipe and generally sort of the things that made him human were not that common earlier in the early 1930s. It seems he was presented more like some kind of abstract figure. So that's why the joke, thank God, thank Stalin, basically could be told about some other leaders. Yeah, the jokes where there is pipe and accent and what else? Yeah, the more specific. I think there were sort of later jokes, or even after his death, jokes. They thought jokes.
Did you find many that you could not translate?
Of course.
Is that the biggest percentage of the jokes?
I don't know. Again, you can explain, but there are some. You can explain the pun, but sometimes you cannot explain the some background. A lot of Jewish jokes I find very hard to explain, and generally later jokes like the 1960s, 70s. The Brezhnev type jokes are much more sophisticated than these, and they are very funny. I think that was the peak of the Soviet jokes, and a lot of them are pretty impossible to explain, even if you explain the pun and everything. But about the sort of the puns, one of the jokes for this presentation, basically for this topic, is about jokes about how is life generally, and that's my point. How is life? So like in a streetcar, like как в трамвае, одни трясутся, другие сидят. But that could be also to explain the pun. People will not laugh, but will understand. But I was trying to present the jokes that more or less will work.
Would it be all right if we go to the next paper in the interest of time? I'm very pleased that this is generating discussion, and hope we can continue discussing it over lunch. The next paper, I'm going to introduce it and then call her. She just sent a Skype message that she's there and waiting at her. She's cleared her classroom of students. Wayne mentioned a method that's called TPRS, and it's total physical response, and the S is storytelling. And this teacher, her name is Michelle Whaley from West Anchorage High School in Alaska, uses this method to teach students Russian. So she is going to speak to us on Skype for about 20 minutes, and then she has videoed herself with the class, or she did it last week, to show us how the method works. And she sent me the link on YouTube, so this is extremely high-tech, very high-tech. She also sent me a handout, which I will pass around, and we'll just call her now.